such terrible problems I live with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, apparently we are on air now. So hello everyone who's watching this, I don't know. As you can see, there is a distinct lack of Matt Dillahunty with us tonight. I'll just quickly explain. Matt's unable to make it. He doesn't have internet due to some flooding in his local area. So we are going to reschedule for some point in the future. So keep tuned. And Marty, do you have anything to say?
Just that it really sucked because I was looking forward to talking to Matt again.
Yeah.
So did I. I actually got into a fight with one of my managers to get off early.
And now you've just got the 2 hours to deal with instead.
Well, fuck it. I have porn, and as soon as I'm done masturbating and getting my fight, I'm just going to go play Black Flag.
Yeah, I can.
Too much information. Way too much information.
Yeah, we do actually have people in our chat room who are asking what's going on. So just to repeat again, there's no Matt Dillahunty tonight. I am sorry to inform him he cannot make it. I've been in touch with him, so like I said, we're rescheduling. He'll be back on in the new year, we're hoping. First show of the new year is what we're aiming to get him for. Good way to kick off the new year.
Yeah.
And if I'm stuck in work, I swear to God, I will kill you all.
And in case you don't know, that we have the lovely and always charming and diplomatic Pumpkin with us.
Good day to you, boys.
He's got that lovely Northern Irish charm we all love so much.
Where do I see the chat room here?
I'll have to give you the link. And as well, the reason we're doing this thing is just so we can get more familiar with Google Hangouts, as we are moving the shows to Google Hangouts.
Yeah, this has definitely changed since I last used Google Hangouts.
It's changed since I last used it, which was last week.
Same here. Like, it made more sense last time.
Okay, if you look in the... There used to be a special chat room for just the people in the show.
No, there's a group chat.
Yeah.
Where the fuck is it?
Move your mouse to the left side of the screen and it'll be the top one, the little blue thing with the lines.
Ah, yeah, there we go. So, yeah, sorry everyone. Like I say, well, I hope you enjoy us pissing around and trying to figure this out. There you go, Marty. That's the link to the stream so you can see if anyone does comment. Yeah, sorry, again, no Matt tonight. He cannot make it. He has no internet connection at the moment. There's been some bad flooding in Austin.
So a good portion of Austin is without internet. So our hearts and minds go out to all those poor men without their porn.
There's going to be a lot of porn-deprived men going around Austin.
There's going to be many a blue ball.
Yeah.
Or many a peon face sheep.
With the daunting prospect of actually having to go out and try and interact with real women. We've got to stop slandering Austin right now.
Why?
It's given us so much, the city of Austin.
Okay, let's see. It has Rooster Teeth. It has Matt Dillahunty.
The Atheist Experience.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
There's more to the Atheist Experience than Matt, though.
Well, probably, but to be honest, I haven't actually watched the show beyond some of the few sections where he just goes nuts at people.
Oh, you've got... that's nothing. You've got to watch a good Jeff D rant. Those are incredible.
Oh, yeah.
I think Mark will attest to, like, the...
Those are great.
When it comes to atheist rants, Jeff D is just in a league of his own. Like, if you go back and view shows from, I think it was like in 2005 onwards, like some of the rants he has on that when he blows his top with some folk, they're just epic.
For some reason, that's reminded me of a video I have saved somewhere on my computer of me. One of the few streams I went on where I was sober and someone really, really pissed me off and I just fucking lost it. Like a 20-minute rant of how much, basically saying that they're the biggest cunt in the universe. A cunt so large that when they were born, a doctor walked past the room and said, "Oh look, a cunt coming out of a cunt's cunt." I believe one of my choice lines out of that was, "You're such a massive cunt, you make supermassive black holes jealous." You're the kind of cunt that slides down the bar stool when you sit on it.
Oh god, this is wonderful.
Remember, only the highest brow entertainment for you.
Yep.
Yeah, so I guess we're just gonna have to improvise something. I have no idea how many people are watching, so let's...
We've got 8 at the moment watching us.
Oh, okay.
So all 8 people.
It's no disaster then.
In the comments, you want to hear a rant or hear us talk about something? I don't know. There's actually not been that much in the news that we can take the piss out of. I mean, there was kind of... Yeah, I'm sorry about that with the Rob Schiefer show. It was... He just didn't have a good mic. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just his... Yeah, let's see.
Where the fuck did I put that there?
Yeah, like I say, Rob Schiefer. Like I say, well, it was a nice. Well, we could hear him well enough to follow. Like I say, just you know, it's always ironic. Someone who's in that kind of field and he had terrible equipment on the day.
Yeah.
But a whole field of study that's renowned for bad equipment use. Discuss my proposed experiment. What the fuck is that?
If your proposed experiment is to simultaneously fist yourself while fapping, no.
My experiment is designed to falsify the idea that macro-realism doesn't exist because quantum realism is indeterminate. It works as follows.
Okay, allow me to address this
where
question.
Are you?
Allow me to address this.
I'm reading the IRC chat, and
Oh, you're in there as well. Okay.
all I can say is Matt, who sent us that. We don't. The one man who could kind of take your question is Lundy, and he's not here. None of us are really that philosophically literate. The three of us, as you can probably tell from the early conversations here.
I would like to say I do become fairly philosophical, but only after roughly a dozen shots of whiskey.
Yeah.
At which point it just kind of becomes, you know, as long as I don't have to use long words, I'm pretty much okay.
It's that kind of famous Irish philosophy, isn't it?
It's the kind of Irish philosophy which has come up with such staples as never take an Egypt with you on a journey. You can always pick one up when you get there. And my personal favourite, that person is the kind of person who would keep a shovel full of shite on the kitchen table to keep the flies off the butter.
Yeah, like I say, I'm just reading the actual YouTube comments here just to say again, sorry, no Matt Dillahunty tonight. He can't make it due to the lack of internet in his area currently. So, yeah. But if you do have any questions, you can use the chat here or you can use the TwL Logic site. It's up to you. We like to give folk options. We do prefer the IRC chat.
It's just really annoying to have to check 2 places.
Well, I think in the future what we can do is we can assign one person to watch our YouTube comments and one person to watch the IRC chat.
Yeah,
I just much prefer the IRC chat.
Yeah, so do I.
The YouTube chat sucks balls.
Yes. Epistemology, that's quite a good name for Irish philosophy.
Okay, I actually need to fucking put this other headset on. It doesn't matter if I can only hear through one ear.
Okay. Oh, Sheila was. Hello, Sheila.
Hello.
Hi there. This is going to be probably one of the worst streams
A
ever.
minute.
And Sheila,
I
meet.
think I've managed to fix my headset.
Awesome. Sheila, meet the always charming angry pumpkin. You'll bump into him a lot during this show.
You're either gonna really like me or want to shank me in the face.
Fair enough.
Yeah, he's got that Northern Irish charm that's so well known across the world.
I've been told on several occasions I'm as subtle as a brick through a police barrack window.
Excellent. I think we get along fine.
That's actually quite a compliment to Northern Ireland, isn't it?
Yeah. 10 points if you can hit the windy. 20 if you can hit the sergeant.
So Sheila, do you have any topics you want to talk about? Someone come up with something.
Let that just go.
Actually, I was just reading something. I was hoping Kitch would be on tonight.
No.
There's a guy in Germany who he's basically a do-it-yourself cyborg. Did you guys see this story?
No, I haven't seen it.
He's implanted basically it records data from his body and then transfers it to his Android so he can keep track of like biometric readings. Instead of being able to wear one, he's actually gotten some guy, like the face implants, the guy that will implant horns and stuff. This guy has actually implanted like it's like the size of a small cell phone, honestly, and he's got it like implanted right into his arm underneath one of his tattoos.
All right, cool. Never heard about that. That's kind of Marty's kind of thing, I think, that kind of tech.
I don't really see why, but just to see if it'll work or what.
Some people just really get tired of dropping their iPod.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. He said something about. I got the article open. Hang on a second. Something about tapping into evolution or something. Hang on a second. It was a really weird story.
Yeah, it sounds really weird.
Here, I'll give you a link to it right away. Where's chat? In the chat feature, whichever side you got it on.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we've got an IRC chat room and YouTube chat going. Just because I didn't cancel the event on Facebook. That's why so many folk are still coming
Mm.
If there's one thing I love about the BBC, it's the fact that you can get some really weird articles on it.
Yeah.
For example, in the religion and ethics section, perspectives, mocking faith, how far can you go? And rather than have some deep philosophical picture illuminating the front of this page, they just have the 4 characters from Father Ted.
No, I like the BBC for the same reason you do, because you can go to the articles and you can filter the comments by the worst rated.
Oh, it's brilliant!
Absolute, and it'll make you laugh.
I'm doing that right now with. I've got one right now. Germany allows intermediate gender at birth, and there's a comment section. Let's have a look at the hateful comments. And wouldn't you know, the very first most hated comment: God created women from the rib of man. God did not create another gender. This is blasphemy. And the second one. This says everything you need to know about Europe and its God-despising politicians. We need to get out of the EU immediately. I love the BBC. I wish they would have comments on every article, because it would just be
That's the one strange thing. It only seems to be certain articles they let the comments on, but I think you just must know the right ones.
Not really, because I've seen a lot of times where they would have comments on something, and people would be complaining on that comment section that there isn't comments for another story.
All right. No, I think it's the right articles to get the right kind of variety of commenters on them.
I suppose.
Whenever you see something about the Large Hadron Collider on there, go to the worst rated comments.
Actually,
Yeah.
I've shown Marty some of them, and I think Marty was losing the will to live with some of them.
I'm just gonna
Yeah,
fucking
some of
search.
them were pretty amazingly stupid. Why don't, if scientists are so smart, why don't they do something like, what was that? If they're so smart, why don't they start making some money instead of wasting their time doing shit like this or something like that?
Why are scientists looking for trying to discover things they don't know? What's the point? But yeah. Oh well. Next, I suppose we can talk about next week's show, which will be pretty cool. We've got Mr. Steve Wells, the kind of author of the Skeptic's Annotated Bible.
Oh yeah.
I think we've all read at some point.
Well, not from cover to
I
cover,
haven't.
but
Yeah, it's quite a nice resource to have. It's like
Yeah.
well, it's in print now. That's the thing. You can buy it in print, and he's done the. I think he's working on the Quran, an annotated Quran as well, and the Book of Mormon. What was that?
I'm just thinking, for the Book of Mormon, would you not just have to write "it exists" as the first major?
yeah.
I would just link the Book of Mormon to the South Park episode, because I think that pretty much sums it up.
Smart, 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 smart.
Dum 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 dum.
Fucking hell.
So yeah, chat rooms, please, if you want to.
I'm just going through the comment section of that article, and it's just every single one of the hated comments is talking about God this and God that. It's priceless.
Well, that's one thing. Did anyone else see that Oprah Winfrey and the Oprah?
Yeah.
What, do you mean the one where she made a complete ass out of herself by not understanding what the word atheist means?
Yeah.
Yep.
Have you actually watched the interview? The interview is just the most kind of banal kind of.
I watched like a little bit of it, and then I just thought to myself, no, I'm not fucking watching this ever.
Well, it was that bit at the where she says, "Oh, and when Steve Jobs had his last breath, I bet you he went, oh wow," and I was like, "What? What's the relevance of that?"
This is something a lot of people find strange about me. Whenever I get into a conversation with someone about Apple and Steve Jobs, even though he's dead, a lot of people find it really fucking strange that I will just say, yeah, he's a cunt. And then just their reactions, like, you can't say that, he's dead. He's still a cunt. It doesn't change his cuntiness. In fact, I think it makes it a bit worse.
Yeah. I do have an iPhone, but I'm really wanting to get rid of it now. I'm fed up with it.
Oh, allow me to tell you the beast of a phone that I have. It is a I'll fucking get this bastard thing to actually work. Samsung C3050.
Alright.
It is so fucking... I wouldn't say it's as good as the Nokia, the brick Nokia, but it does have an amazing feature.
What's that?
If I don't have good signal, I just throw it at a wall, catch it when it comes back, and I have full bars. I have done this in the middle of a fucking... No, I did this on a mountain. I bounced it off a wall, brought it back, full signal.
Well, that's an interesting feature.
Well, that's the Northern Irish solution to everything. Throw it off a wall. Just throw it back, really.
Fucking thing doesn't work! Face it!
Jesus!
Hey, don't be talking bollocks. We don't talk like that, eh?
Someone's dog barking there. No, I can't think of any other relative news stories. Ooh, we've got 11 viewers now. It's climbing up all the time.
Soon we shall rule Earth.
Yeah, there was that one thing in Scotland right now. We're trying to get our Parliament to say one way or the other what their thoughts on creationism in school is, and so they're not really giving a straight answer. It seems to be the same copy and paste response. Sheila, you've seen it as well.
Mm-hmm.
The exact same over and over. They just say, well, the curriculum of excellence has guidelines on it, and we think it should be discussed and evolution, and they won't actually come out and straight say that no creationism in school. They're kind of being very, I don't know what the word is, slippery about it.
So they're being politicians, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it sounds like they're afraid to commit to anything one way or another. They don't want to, piss off the church, but they don't want to piss off citizens either. So it just kind of seems like they're afraid to take an official stance on it.
Well, it's that, and you got the independence vote next year, and the Parliament seems to be very scared to actually enact any legislation on anything at the moment, just for fear of upsetting the vote, I think.
I am going to piss myself laughing when the independence of Scotland is turned down, for the simple fact that it won't fucking work. Because Scotland becomes independent unless they immediately take over all of the natural gas and I think the oil, possibly. Unless they immediately say those are ours, fuck off, and start trading immediately, they are fucked economically. Just squandered.
Speaking of Scotland, welcome Gary. We can't hear you, Gary.
You'll be muted by default, Gary.
Do I have to unmute him?
No,
he should be able to do it.
Is that better?
That's it. Loud and clear.
Oh, you can hear it. Sheila!
Hey!
How you doing?
Oh yeah, welcome to this little hangout.
So international.
So Gary, you're here instead of Matt Dillahunty now, so.
Well, I mean, some of your lesser stars may be quite envious of my position, but
You even got the same haircut as him for the show as well. Huh?
oh yeah, I know. Well, it's a shame because I was looking forward to seeing this Matt Dillahunty because I assumed that he was kind of, I know you talk about him a lot, and I know nothing about him, but I know he's quite big over there in the States and stuff. But I'd not heard of him. Anyway, it's pouring with rain here in Glasgow. It's Halloween, and I should be out getting dressed up and doing crazy stuff, and it's absolutely bucketing down. It's really, really wet. Yeah. So I'm doing the best thing. I'm just going to stay here, unfortunately, without all my Halloween stuff on.
Yeah, you could have come on in costume. That would have been
I know. I don't know, like, yeah. I mean, that would have been.
Stop as Matt Dillahunty.
There you go.
I would like to make a recommendation for you how to alleviate boredom on Halloween night. A bottle of Jack Daniels and internet connection. Honestly, there is nothing funnier than going on to chat roulette, sitting with a bottle of Jack Daniels and taking a shot every time you see a guy jacking off. It's just, you take a shot and then you say, hey, you have a tiny penis, and then they disconnect, and then you go to the next one, and then again and again. It is the strangest, most entertaining thing.
Well, one thing I find really entertaining is getting a little bit hammered and then watching a creationist video.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Sorry, my God. Oh, you're really dressed up now, Gary.
I know. I just was determined. It's Halloween. I've got to do something.
That's awesome.
Okay, there's a difference between dressing up and just changing your entire genetic code to that of a cat.
Well, if evolution was true, you could do.
If evolution was true, how come my car isn't a spaceship?
Yeah, I guess we could always talk about that little email we received.
Oh, yeah, I'll have to go. We got a little bit of hate mail this week. You know, Pumpkin, you read it, haven't you?
I think I read it, and when I did, I have indented my table.
Alright.
I just fucking slammed my head into it. I was, the fuck was this guy thinking? Whatever drugs this person was taking, I would like to find and take myself, because clearly it's some top-notch shit.
So, yeah, I'll read this letter out. Hi, I study biology and I think I have a very strong evidence for design in nature. A.
Stop. Okay, so we already know that he doesn't actually study biology.
Yes.
Oh, no. I would like to make the point that many people study biology. Not all of them know what the fuck is going on. A lot of students go into biology class, open the textbook, and go, I don't know what the fuck this means. I'm going to think about something else.
Yeah, but would they introduce themselves as people who study biology?
If you're trying to debate against something that's biologically proven time and time again, and you're trying to convince people with a working knowledge, at least to some degree, of biology, would you rather introduce yourself as, I've studied biology, or I'm a retard?
Well, and studying
probably the latter,
biology.
because at least then you're honest.
And that would be my second point. A person can study biology, but not understand it. If someone is a biologist, they've studied it, and they understand it. There's a difference between knowledge and understanding. I know lots of things. A lot of them I don't understand. For example, I know that a law is going to be passed, or is being debated, as to the pricing of alcohol per unit. I don't understand this. Why should you limit me from my alcohol?
Well, and studying something doesn't mean, like you said, it doesn't mean you're understanding it, or that you've even completed the course of biology.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, just because you're sitting in a class doesn't mean that you've completed it or gone any further with it. So it's stupid to start out with that anyway.
Anyway, next line is A. We know that a self-replicate robot that made from DNA need a designer.
Stop! First off, grammar. Use it! Second.
I'm struggling not to correct this guy's grammar.
No, just leave.
I would.
Don't. There's a point at which you can correct something, and then there's a point at which you're just going to start dashing your head against the wall in sheer frustration.
Yeah.
Because this person is clearly a marvel of evolution, for the simple fact he seems to be working without a functioning brain. Okay, it's self-replicating robots.
Yeah. What do we know about self-replicating robots? When did we have a self-replicating robot that we could learn anything about?
I think the only one we could possibly say would be a factory, like a car parts factory, where it's machines making other machines, and those machines would possibly be making other machines make machines. Just
but
because
they're not made of DNA.
Exactly, because DNA changes, which means we get tiny imperfections, which means shit differs, which means more things happen, which means we change. If we all turned out exactly like our previous generation, holy shit, I would be very, very the same.
Okay.
Mostly in the fact that most of my family are raging alcoholics and very loud-mouthed. At least in the meal line.
Next line, B. From the material perspective, that ape is a self-replicate robot.
Right.
Kill it with fire.
How do you define robot?
Perspective ape.
And if I were to grant you that an ape fits the definition of a self-replicating robot, then we don't know that all self-replicating robots made of DNA wouldn't be the case anyway, because apes are not made of DNA, they just have DNA in them. They wouldn't require a designer. We don't know that.
Also,
So if I grant you B, I can't grant you A.
and I find it funny, it's basically an elaborate watchmaker's argument, and when I say elaborate, I'm being very generous. Because this is to elaborate what wallpaper is to Picasso.
Okay, next line is, or even a self-replicate watch. The evolution side always says that a watch needs a designer because it can't self-replicate. So if we find a self-replicate watch, we need to say watch is made by itself.
Okay, do you know what I said about it being an elaborate watchmaker's argument? Remove that. I'm not even going to grant that premise.
But he first talks about how watches don't self-replicate, and then he says, therefore, if we find a self-replicating watch, we know blah, blah, blah.
No, self-replicate watch.
Oh, replicate, yeah.
Is that a cat that fell into a cloning machine?
Yeah.
Plus, if a self-replicate, oh, you actually spelled it right there. If a self-replicate car can't evolve into an airplane, how can bacteria evolve into a human? Into humans, sorry. I'll accept the struggle not to correct the grammar in this.
Well, we don't know that a self-replicating car can't evolve into an airplane because we've never seen a self-replicating car.
Also, why would a car need to become an airplane?
Yeah, that's my
I mean,
next
surely
point.
the best thing for a car is if there's lots of roads around, it would just need to be good on roads. If there weren't, and it was to self-replicate and change, all it would need would be better tires and slightly higher. It wouldn't need to fly around. You know why? 'Cause it's a fucking car!
Let's spend a moment in prayer, thanking God that him don't replicate.
I hope this person was castrated. I really do.
God. Yeah, some of you guys go on Secular Scotland, so don't worry. We've got people like this, like the bucket load. It's completely nuts, but they're such good entertainment.
Yeah.
I will say this honestly. I do hope we get regular hate mail. Because honestly, sitting down with, even when I was sober, just sitting down with a cup of tea, drinking this, I was shitting myself with laughter.
There's a big debate about it, sort of, should it be banned and all this kind of stuff. But, in reality, it's a good idea that you do have these voices because it kind of puts your own life in perspective. Think how lucky we are. But also it there is a middle ground that you can find. It is useful to have all these different voices. And, of course, they must consider more liberal and atheistic, viewpoint to life. Crazy too. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but I think it's important. I think one of our successes on Secular Scotland, and we celebrate probably this weekend our 800th member, is through non-censorship. And absolutely allowing anything to happen. And one of our biggest complainants, and some of you will know Dar, yes, you do. And, we have more complaints about him than anybody else, yet he is the one who complains the most about Secular Scotland being atheistic and hating religion and all this kind of stuff. There's plenty of religious people. You'd be quite surprised. At one of our meetings in Glasgow, and there was about 30 people there, and he said, right, hands up. What's your religion? I was shocked. I thought everybody was, atheist, everybody's hand would go up. That wasn't the case. And there were so many closet religionists of all types. I mean, it was wonderful. There was a real mixture. Lots of New Agers. There was Buddhists. There was a pagan, spiritualist. and the evangelical really had a good mix. It was interesting.
Well, it's not good in the idea that you are called secular Scotland. You're not called Atheist Scotland.
No.
Like, you want to promote diversity, and I would say I like the idea of non-censorship for two reasons. One, if you don't censor someone, everyone can see the bullshit they represent. And two, if you don't censor someone, that means that they can't call censorship on you when you call them out in their bullshit. You can say, we let you spout your bullshit, and now you have to listen to ours.
Yes!
And I would also like to say, were it not for the fact I'm in Northern Ireland, I would probably be a member of your society and just shouting verbal abuse at people for no particular reason.
Yeah, well, we posted a couple of stories recently from Northern Ireland. One today on a university, a guy who is, I think, some homophobic abuse going on, and of course the famous DUP, which is a pretty shocking state of affairs, isn't it?
Well, think about it this way. The DUP are about as relevant as the shit I took this morning. Because the two main parties in Ireland, to anyone who doesn't understand, is Sinn Féin and the DUP. Sinn Féin is basically Ireland for the Irish. The DUP is like Northern Ireland's technically British. And the two have always butted heads. And over the years, everyone has stopped listening. Everyone, even their representatives, don't give a shit. They came round campaigning not that long ago, and because I live out in the back crack of nowhere, I got the woman who does agriculture, and she was coming around, how can we make this better for you and all this? And I was saying, quick question, what's your policy on, the distribution of the green belts in growing towns? And she said, I haven't bothered to ask. Didn't say I haven't been told, didn't say I didn't ask, I didn't bother to ask. And that for me was just the best moment ever.
So completely out of touch. I mean, that's an interesting point you make. The government are completely out of touch with this growing group of people that really aren't interested in this kind of, extreme battle. The loyalists and Republicans, or the Catholics and Protestants, are just not interested in it anymore. And what you've got is this hardcore that have got into government. The DUP is appalling. I mean, people like Poot, a horrible religionist who is quite openly spending taxpayers' money to pursue his own agenda, to go to the European courts with things that he doesn't like. It's absolutely disgraceful. Appalling state of affairs. Northern Ireland is a mad aunt in the attic.
Yeah, it's brilliant. But one thing that I find funny is in Northern Ireland, among the people, there's a strange way of greeting. Like, when we chat with one another, we're very abusive, we're very abrasive, we're like, how you doing, you prick? I'm well, you fucking bastard. And that's just how we go. And there was a brilliant letter sent to Jerry Adams, and it basically said, and I can't remember, I've never been able to find another copy of it. Someone showed it to me, like a picture on their phone. They never sent it to me and never found it again. But the letter started with, "Oi, you fucking ball bag. I am sick and fucking tired of the way you done represent most of your constituents." And a lot of this, when you'd look at it, you'd think it was misspelled, but this was perfect grammar. I mean, it was like for ain't, it would be AIN-T, and it was fucking really well written, as if you're just chatting in the pub. And he was saying, "Oh, you fucking ball bag. I'm telling you, I'm tired of the way you deal with your constituents. You don't fucking care about us. What, do you think you're king of the fucking manor now? And it's just a ream of abuse at him. And I remember hearing, and this was like a year after this, I saw this, and it still pops into my mind occasionally, and I mentioned it to the guy. And I said, "Do you know one of Jerry's respondents sent a letter back?" I says, no, what did it say? It said, fuck you on a piece of brick. It's a very strange place.
Indeed. But very nice. It's quite fun. I love it. And I hope it has
If you
some
have a
kind of
thick skin,
even if I am, to be honest, a little bit of a Republican.
meh, I don't give a fuck. I find it hilarious for the simple fact that I was once asked in my school, you know, are you... It was basically in history class, and the teacher did this thought experiment. Are you British or Irish? And he started asking, he's like, oh, I'm Irish, you know, but all this and all this fucking... He'd ask some questions, and he came to me, he says, Andrew, are you British or Irish? And I said, my name's James, but close enough. And he was saying, right, sorry, James, why? And he got really confused, and it was fucking hilarious. But he said, are you British or Irish? And I said to him, well, that's a difficult question. He says, aha, why is that? I said, I was born in England, I was raised in Northern Ireland, but both my parents are from the Republic, so fuck it, I'm Irish. And the look of confusion on his face. One thing I love is everyone calls me by the wrong name. At some stage, I've been called Stephen, Simon, Patrick, Seamus, Jimmy, by my manager, by one person in the past month I've been working at my job, and they haven't got my name right yet. It's brilliant.
Fascinated by the politics. We get it all the time, and it's always worth reading. There was a fabulous letter this morning in the Scotsman from an Ulster thing. I don't know if anybody else read it this morning.
I haven't read it yet.
Oh, it was from somebody that was trying to conflate the whole Scottish independence argument with Ireland, and I'd need to go onto Facebook and read it. But you know, it's a lot of stuff coming over for us to look at. Always great fun. But no, you know, this is the nice thing about secular Scotland. I think we can throw keyboards at each other and words. We don't throw Molotov cocktails or blow up pubs and, you know, do any real physical damage.
Well, Pumpkin, where's the fun in that? Huh?
Yeah, I mean, if you can't... Like, I have went on some spectacular dates in my time. The single best date I went on, I went out to a pub. A fella came in and said, there's a fucking bomb scare outside. Everyone takes their pint glasses and rushes outside. It turned into a street riot. And the woman I was dating's brother walked up and smashed a bottle across the back of my head and says, you're in, boy. Best time ever.
Oh, God.
Oh.
So I just have never understood how you people cope without mindless violence. How?
Or the threat of mine.
Frightens the shit out of me. I hate it.
Ah, come on. Where's the fun in not being able to threaten your neighbour with a petrol bomb? For fuck's sake, I used to get out of school by getting a cardboard box, writing "This is a bomb" on the side of it, throwing it at the school door and calling a bomb scare. Anytime I had homework I didn't want to do, I would just call up one of my friends who lived near it and say, here, could you call in a bomb scare? I can't be fucked going in tomorrow. I did it last week. Do it again, you'll be fine.
Actually, got a comment saying, please talk about religion before you start the troubles again.
Well, to be fair, the troubles were strange in that it wasn't particularly about religion. It was more about we want freedom, because British troops were brought in to quell the acts of violence which led up to the troubles, and then it kind of seriously hit the fan when the IRA basically said, we don't want you here. And they had a slight argument that lasted about 30 years. And it just kind of got out of hand at times. Rarely, but it did get out of hand at times.
All right.
But it's not so much about religion. Although I do remember hearing a story that IRA members, part of the mechanism for their bombs was they would use a condom to shield, I think it was the blasting cap. And IRA members wouldn't, they refused to do this on moral grounds. They would happily blow up a pub full of people, but they wouldn't do it with a bomb that had a condom in it. On moral grounds. Strange.
I just walked away at that one for some reason.
Sorry about that. Sorry.
We thought that was a rage quit.
It was getting really hot.
I know my voice is sexy, but damn.
Oh yeah. Northern Irish voices are very sexy. Absolutely. Northern Irish men too. Hot.
I have to ask, Gary, is that a Danish flag in the background you keep seeing?
No.
That looks like the bottom of a mural, because I can see like one line and then a little bit at the top and a bit at the side and a little bit of another.
I'll show you. It's a very big painting.
Oh.
Mm.
Very
How
big.
much did you pay for that?
Oh, don't even ask. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I love yellow and love. It was just the whole brightness of the thing, and I just thought
I think to get a
got my name
fucking
on it.
can of Dulux.
I had to have it. No. It's actually painted by someone. She's no longer alive, and she lived on the Black Isles.
All right.
I don't even know where that is.
The Black Isle's just north of Inverness.
Oh, I know you know all about that kind of stuff, Cal.
Yep.
So,
He just kind of floats around drinking.
I know. I'm totally confused because I'm worried. I love this Google thing. This is really working well. But is where you're moving to? I'm not going to mention any names because I know you think. But where you're moving to, will you be affected by that? Will you still be able to do this kind of stuff?
Yes, of course I'll be able to do this stuff. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, if they say, oh well, we've heard about what you do online, stop that. I wouldn't work for anyone that did that to me.
He might do some of these broadcasts chained to a radiator, but that's a different matter.
You're not doing. I have a very long history of free radio and being involved with pirate radio. I love the whole kind of thing, but this is not. This is completely legit. I mean, the whole secularism thing is a wonderful cause, and it's a very legitimate cause. But what I was keen to know is that we'll keep doing it because I think it's wonderful what you're doing, Cal. But I'm just disappointed that you're never in a place for more than 5 minutes. So there was me ready to pack my bags and come up and have a day reviewing Aberdeen, which is what people think is, it's in Scotland, it's just around the corner. It's not. It's miles away.
Well, I find that people either think that Aberdeen is just up the road, or they think it's like the last great voyage they've got to take to get here.
Yeah.
I find that people in Glasgow especially think that it's going to. I've had people think it would take 14 hours to get from Glasgow to Aberdeen.
Yeah. By the way,
That's because they're stopping on the way to fuck a few sheep.
Wait till you get here to do that. Don't stop on the way.
You never know. Some people might just see a nice cliff and a few sheep and think, I'd like a bit of pushback.
You can always tell it's Saturday night.
I'm usually like this on a Thursday, so...
Saturday night and we don't have a guest on the show. Anything goes right now. And it's all gone quiet.
Yeah, I know. Well, we're done Ireland now. So tell me, I mean, whereabouts in the you other guy, you guys, Sheila, I know you're in the States and you're in, refresh my memory,
Missouri.
Missouri.
Norway.
Right.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Marty. Because he's Norwegian and all.
No, I'm Swedish.
It's
Martin,
okay to admit you're Norwegian.
Yeah, they say I'm Norwegian, but I'm Swedish.
Just because of piss.
oh, are you in Sweden?
Yeah.
But he's
Oh,
really,
cool.
but he is actually Norwegian though.
Shut up.
In the same way you could say that I'm British or even English, and I would say, no, I'm Irish.
Yeah, something
Just
like that.
admit that you're Norwegian. Life will get so much better.
Shut up.
If you hadn't fed to hunt us down and
Yeah.
kill or saying you were Norwegian, we would have just stopped that. We wouldn't have even bothered.
Yeah, I made the
So
horrible
you did
mistake
the wrong
of...
thing. You actually reacted to what we said that day. So
Yeah, I reacted because they didn't realize that we have these jokes between Swedes and Norwegians. We both tell the same jokes about each other, but with the roles reversed, we
Yeah.
both accuse the other of being stupid, essentially. So,
But what if
someone
both
called
countries are
Norwegian
stupid?
by mistake, I kind of reacted to that, and well, ever since then I've had to live with being called Norwegian.
This is the benefit of being me and just the generally dickish person that I am. If you were to start calling me English and I was to say, I'll hunt you down and kill you, that'd just be considered, please, I would rather you didn't say that. Whereas when Marty says it, it's genuine, I don't like this, stop it now.
that's because Marty's nice.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Although if you watch Marty's last video, he gets his share of hate mail as well.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious.
So that was just, I still can't, evil statheism is just,
I actually remember pausing that video and just thinking, if I Google this, will anything come up?
I have no idea. I don't think so.
well, it was that word, and then the rest of it was just, it did seem like he'd just picked random words and thrown them together.
Yeah.
Because the comment he left made no sense whatsoever.
No. And I just love the guy who said that I've got malice pouring out of my eyes, which got a special effect in response.
I mean, I could understand someone saying that about you, Zulu, but, Marty, he's just a cute, innocent little bunny rabbit from Norway.
Ooh, silence again.
He's blushing.
Everyone I keep getting complaints from especially from New Agers about how angry I seem, and I'm not angry. I'm making fun of them because they're stupid. What frustrates me is just how stupid some things they say happens to be. So
The next time you have someone...
I'm not angry with them. I'm laughing at them.
The next time you have someone say that you're angry, just refer them to me.
Yeah.
They will think you
Or
are...
Jeff D.
Yeah. It is weird. I find like New Agers, they're very defensive if you criticize them in the tiniest little bit.
Yeah.
Even
Which form of New Agers? Because I know of about 5 or 6 New Age movements, but...
Yeah. The ones that watch Spirit Science.
Deepak Chopra.
Oh,
The Deepak
Yeah. Yeah,
That
the
hurts.
Deepak Chopra type idiots.
Shit, I wish we had Lundy right now to do his Deepak Chopra impression.
Wonderful. It's a lovely book here.
What's that?
My Philosophy by Sir Oliver Lodge. Very old book.
No.
Now this is so Oliver Lodge was an early spiritualist, and he was also exploring the science of spiritualism, which I think is really cool. I think that's what I love about spiritualism, is that there is this kind of feeling that they should explore science, bring science in, and try and and they were in those times. This is Victorian, this book.
Yeah.
It would, it was all about trying to prove spiritualism. And I know there's probably a lot more research on it, but nothing's ever conclusive, and there's always gaps and holes. And I think that's always a wonderful thing.
Yeah,
I think it's nice that nothing ever is improved, and I almost think it's kind of nice that people can say, well, I believe in God, and you can't ever prove them wrong because it's so kind of out there. And I think that's fine. I mean, that's all about diverse society is.
Yeah.
And lots of things come from that. I mean,
But
New Age. I love New Age. I
Yeah.
love it. I
But
love the tinkling of bells and the candles and the hugs and it's cool.
But then
Yeah,
we get to the point where we're talking about crystal healing and
Yeah.
all
Yeah, when
that
you start
crap.
talking about
and
homeopathy and shit, and it's considered an actual piece of healthcare. It's like, oh, if you're bleeding out of your asshole, take 2 of these homeopathic pills.
God, yeah. We'll go on Secular Scotland and see We'll go on the Secular Scotland website and see my latest article on homeopathy. And it's a very personal article. I didn't particularly really want to write it because it is actually quite personal. But it's I go to a diabetic clinic at Gartnavel, and I was able to compare on this hospital campus the diabetic clinic and the homeopathy clinic. My God! I mean, we've got mold growing up the walls in the diabetic clinic, and the homeopathy clinic, it's got 12 beds where every patient has access to a wooden walkway down into gardens, herb gardens, soft music.
well, when all they have to pay for is water, you know.
I was just about to say that. I mean, if you're able to sell snow to the Eskimos, when you're able to sell sand to the Arabs, you have succeeded. If you're able to sell nothing to people who have everything, you've done well. But the reason I hate homeopathy is that it isn't selling nothing to people who have everything. It's selling nothing to people who are in need of something, who have nothing.
Yes,
and in that case, every person who I've met that has said, I don't know the fucking word that they use, is homeopathy something. It's basically saying, oh, I treat people with homeopathy. Every single one of them I've met, I've kicked in the bollocks. Except for the women who I kick in the stomach.
It's doing more than that, Irish. It's actually taking much needed NHS money away from people who really need it. It's more insidious than that.
Yeah.
I have nothing against homeopathy. I have nothing against that particular department of the hospital. It's wonderful. It's exemplary. It's how healthcare should be for everybody. What I don't like is that NHS money is actually being spent on it. It shouldn't be. It should be private.
Would really fix the homeopathy clinic is if you took all the people from the diabetes clinic and put them in the homeopathy clinic and gave that to the homeopathy and just said, here, you've done well fixing this place up, but it's nearer to this and they need that. And if you have that building, you can just go to town. And then when they fix that one up, just say, okay, we're going to move these patients in here. You build a building over there. And just keep telling them, as soon as they make it nice, just basically say, and now fuck off.
Well, I can't disagree with that.
Most people can't disagree with Northern Ireland logic. Or should I say, most people don't survive disagreeing with Northern Ireland logic.
Yeah, but when we agree with you, it's okay. But I do love the New Age stuff. I mean, I go to a retreat in Dumfries in the south of Scotland.
And the Buddhist place.
Huh?
Is it the big Buddhist place?
No. That's north of Glasgow, and I can't remember where it's.
I've heard of that.
Balquhidder. This is Lauriston Hall, which is just outside Castle Douglas, which is between Castle Douglas and Dumfries, and it's a rambling pile. It's an old Victorian pile that hippies took over in the 70s, and they were ostracized really badly. You should see some of the old news cuttings. There was one where they were, it's hilarious, being described as perverts and all this kind of stuff. It's really bizarre. There's some old cuttings floating about it. But it's fabulous what they've done. I mean, they now operate as a cooperative.
Yeah.
And whole school groups go 100 at a time, go there, and it's wonderful. There's a big lake with an island in the middle of it, and there's boats, and you can take the boats and sail out. And when I go on these weeks, you have it's just wonderful. This lovely old thing where you can sleep in the big tower at the very top. It's so creepy, and there's a sauna right next to one of the other lakes. And you just can have, and every night they have a big fire, and build a fire and just watch the stars. It's just wonderful. And there's another, you can lay naked on the lawn. You go swimming naked. There's nothing you can't do. And then there's all these lovely events on. People bring their own events. So you have massage. You have all sorts of wonderful things that people brought. All this kind of, Reiki healing and all this kind of stuff, which is fabulous. It's really nice. It's not, if you want to believe that it cures you, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine also. It's still very nice to get a massage.
Well, I would say there's an element of it that a lot of healing factors can be influenced positively by positive mental reinforcement. If you think it's working, then possibly it will work. But if it has been proven not to work, and you ignore the evidence, and your doctor is saying, no, that is not your forearm, that's a giant tumor, and you're saying, but the homeopathist says that it's perfectly fine as long as I take this water pill and sugar and shit.
Yeah.
It sickens me, because I know that there are people out there who do prey on the weak and the innocent, and I find no one does that worse than homeopathy. Actually, no, scratch that. The only people I find that do it worse is spirit healers. The first spirit healer I meet, I will have to be dragged off of, because I have nothing but the utmost of contempt for those people.
I don't know. I've seen worse. In spiritual church, you kind of know what you're getting into. You know what you're getting when you go in. Well, I suppose you could say the same for something like evangelical churches. There's one near me that I went to, the evangelical church, where there was. It was in a sense spiritualism, because they brought someone on stage, and he says, I want to come to someone over there who's got some back problem, and God's speaking to me through me, saying that you're going to be healed and this kind of stuff. I thought, God, this is really spiritualism. Although when I said that to the guy running the thing, he said no. But they make huge amounts of money. The bucket was going around. People were throwing notes into it.
Well,
IOU slips, checks. I couldn't believe the gullibility of people.
Yeah, because it's strange that nobody would have thought that the guy on stage who's wearing an earpiece says, I'm hearing the voice of God. It sounds a lot like Terry from Maintenance. He's saying, yes, the other person in the audience also wearing an earpiece. I feel that you alone, who no one here actually knows because you travel with us when we go from parish to parish, you right there will be healed of your vague illness. Now stand up and be well. And then they stand up and they say, suddenly I'm better. Praise Jeebus, or the Omnisaya, or Pingu. Pingu should be worshipped. He is a legitimate god. But anyway, and nobody thinks to say, this is bullshit. I've always found that very, very strange. Maybe that's just because the culture I live in.
There's people everywhere that are desperate to believe anything, though. I mean, they're willing to pay everything to get what they want. So it's not, it's the same everywhere for any set of beliefs too. You'll find people that are just desperate to hold on to something.
Yes.
Well, I get that, but maybe the reason I have such trouble dealing with it is the fact that in the culture where I live, like I do take the piss out of it a lot, but the reason I love Northern Ireland is for the simple fact that if you're talking bollocks, people say you're talking bollocks. We're not subtle here, and it shows, because whenever there's a street preacher in my local town who stands up on his soapbox, a literal soapbox, by the way, which we all get endless amusement from,
Irish, what happened with the electorate and the DUP? Talk me through this.
The electorate and the DUP? Explain.
Well,
I will admit I know bollocks all about Northern Ireland politics.
because it's about time the Northern Irish stood up to them and said, "You're talking bollocks, get to fuck."
Oh yeah, trust me, that does happen. Like there's
Run,
they
Micro.
have
I mean, I shouldn't say that because this is, libel. But you've got news stories of who I forget the name of the leader and his wife, and the wife was going off with the maintenance man, and there was some dealing.
Okay, I remember hearing about that and just
property dealing and stuff. Highly religious, very homophobic woman. And it turns out that then she says that I think there was some incidents of. I better not say too much because if this does go out live, I could be in trouble. But there was all sorts of talk about their relationship.
the rumor that what was it? Her husband was sleeping around and that she was a whore. And I can say that because I live here.
No.
Oh no, sorry. No, I'm thinking of something else.
I don't want to say without finding stories that are actually public that I can refer to. But there was just a lot of.
Oh no, I'm not saying this is legitimate. So I'm just saying like the rumor.
But I'm kind of thinking, why do they just still get re-elected when I did remember seeing a story about how he was a bit of a violent and stuff, and then next thing you hear she's in some kind of hospital or something, mental hospital or something, and with all the corruption, with all the nastiness, I think, why did they get re-elected?
Well, because for all the progress we've made in the peace process, there's still a lot of hatred there. There's a lot of people on both sides of the fence who are basically saying we don't want these other people here. We see that this party represents our views best, which is namely get them the fuck out.
Yeah.
And what you're saying about, why hasn't the DUP been told to go and fuck? Their office in one of the towns near me, they get fucking flooded with hate mail. And I know and have been involved with groups of people walking in and just saying, your leader's a cunt, your party's bollocks, get the fuck out. Well, there'd generally be a rhyming chant behind it, but I'm under pressure and slightly drunk.
Makes them more defensive, I suppose, and even more militant. And that's what I worry about, the great sort of atheist versus religionist divide, that we might create this situation where you've got really atheist groups going head on with evangelical groups, that they'll become more militant. They won't give up their faith. They'll just become more militant, and that's where I think
they'll die out. Because think about it this way: if you have more groups that are running around and saying, fucking, God is right and He hates all of this and you're all sinners, then everyone that looks at them is going to think, wow, you guys are assholes. And they're not going to get any new members. And when all of their old decrepit members die and decay to dust, everyone will say, wow, that was a shitty book note on the pages of histories. So, let's go back to doing something that matters. And if you do think about it, and I would say this to Scotland as well, a lot of people who identify as religious, here it's the whole Catholic Protestant thing, where it's more cultural. Like it's, oh, I'm Catholic because I identify with the Republic, or I'm Protestant because I identify with the British. A lot of people on both sides just say, I don't believe any of it. Like, I remember a good friend of mine who genuinely used to say quite often, I fucking love Sinn Féin all this year. And we used to ask him all these questions. And I remember one day he just turned around to me in the middle of RE class, which is a whole different discussion. And he just turned around to me and said, does this fucking teacher think we're retarded or something? Does she expect us to believe this shit? God created the earth in 7 days? Go fuck. And I remember pissing myself laughing.
Fireworks are going off like crazy around me right now. I can hear that. It's firework night, Sheila, on the 5th, but everybody has their parties on the Saturday, which kind of clashes when Halloween is 31st and firework night's the 5th. Then everything clashes midweek, or the first weekend near it. So we've got this weekend, which is both Halloween and firework night. So everyone's dressing in Halloween and going to firework night parties.
They don't do fireworks here. It's for the most part, it's either
July.
We do, yes, we do a lot on the 4th of July, but not for Halloween. It's usually either kids doing the trick or treating thing, or it's grown-ups going out in costume and getting drunk.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You do Halloween big time, and we've bought into that, and it's fabulous. We love it. And no Halloween is ever complete without letters from the wee frees in our local, in our Scottish media, saying how ungodly it is. And of course, we always look forward to that. It's all part of Halloween. And November the 5th is something else, because interestingly, we had the Daily Express contact us, the Scottish Daily Express, contact us to get Caroline Lynch-Archer's opinion on firework night. What we thought about it. Did we think it was, a Protestant Catholic argument anymore?
I think it's moved well beyond the whole Guy Fawkes trying to blow up Parliament in order to reinstate a Protestant monarch. It's now just, fuck it, let's go out, get shit-faced and set off a few fireworks.
It is indeed.
Are there any holidays anymore that are actually celebrated for their intent, or is it really just, everything's an excuse to get drunk anymore?
Well, I would actually say and strange for Marty and Zulu, who know me for being a raging alcoholic, I would actually celebrate the summer solstice. I would just go out and have barbecue and play football and fuck around and not get drunk. I would stay completely sober that day. However, on the winter solstice, holy shit, the opposite is true. I have been found I got found on the 23rd of December sleeping in a ditch, still drunk. I have no memory of what happened between the start of the 21st and when the cop poked me with his stick to wake me up.
This is it, a godless society.
And then I went home and sacrificed a goat to High Lord Satan because, that's what we do. I had some literal baby back ribs with my tea just to calm my nerves.
Cut the crap. You read the entrails. What did they say?
I was going to say, Mark, is it the same in Sweden? Like all the holidays, they're pretty much no one really about the religious elements, no?
Yeah. Yeah, no one cares about that.
No.
What about Norway?
I think it's pretty much the same.
He's not rising anymore.
Well, at least he's learned from me. Or at least he's learned from interacting with... I don't fucking know. You've learned something. Well done.
Have another beer, Marty.
Reward yourself. Also, you can clearly see that I don't stand for the reinforcing of any Irish stereotypes.
No, I noticed.
I'm a calm and civil-minded person who
Absolutely.
has been teetotal from the very moment I was brought into this world. And now that we're entering back into reality...
You'll beat the shit out of us once you finish your pint, is it?
I do remember saying that to someone once, or sending it in a text anyway. One of my ex-girlfriend's boyfriend sent me a text basically saying how I was a raging alcoholic. And to be fair, I do actually have a reason why I started hitting the bottle so hard, but different story, different day. And he sent me a text basically calling me an alcoholic piece of shit. And I said, how dare you make that assumption that I'm a violent alcoholic? the very moment that I put down this bottle of Jack Daniels, I'm going to drive to your house and kick the shit out of you.
I must admit, secularists are pretty hard drinkers, it seems. Otherwise, either that or, maybe this is what I noticed when I moved up to Scotland. It's people like to drink a lot more up here.
It's just Scotland in general.
I think it's just kind of... It's pretty much, we're so far from the equator, it's just kind of, in the summer, it's kind of nice out. I think I'll have a beer. And then the winter, it's, wow, it's really shit out. I think I'll have a beer. And over the years, the beers became spirits, and the spirits became more spirits, and then everyone got shit-faced. And I'm just waiting for the future where everyone's blood is just pure ethanol.
Okay, so you probably noticed in the islands there's some very hard drinkers up there.
Oh, God, yes. I bet your life they are. Maybe that's why they're so religious.
I think it's because... a lot of people say it's because of that. Because there's a big shame and stigma, and a lot of people are just doing it in private there.
How, when I was up in Harris, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. We stayed in this lovely hostel, and as I looked out the window, they would march 3 times a day to church, dressed in black. They're all in black, holding their Bibles. They looked sick. They looked ill. When I went out, walked by the church, there were these young children, absolutely wan, pale-faced. They looked ill.
What's they say? If you know, do you know St Kilda at all?
I know St Kilda. It's like the farthest island out from the UK.
It used to be populated, and they say there when kind of Protestantism came and when it was Christianized, it actually hurt their productivity because they were going to church 3 days a week, and they'd been such hard workers on their farms. They didn't have time to tend to their crops, and they actually reckon it cost a few lives because they weren't producing the crops to keep themselves going.
Wow.
Because this very devout fundamentalist religion came to them.
Oh, amazing! Amazing. That's it. It doesn't do them any good. It really doesn't. It's quite horrendous. And I cannot believe as well, let this not go without being mentioned, there's like one church for every 5 houses. Mm-hmm. I can't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And I went up to the one road and went into one of the churches. It was deserted. I don't think anyone ever goes there. But there was this church with all Bibles on all the benches and stuff.
And they're very kind of... Well, when you see the buildings, they're just very imposing.
I know.
Big, kind of grey-looking monoliths that sit on the top of the hills everywhere.
I don't know.
I've got some fabulous...
go on ahead.
I've got fabulous stickers that I put on one of the Bibles. It says here, warning, this is a work of fiction. Do not take it literally. Content advisory. You get this wonderful, you just peel them off and stick them on. Content advisory contains verses descriptive of or advocating suicide, incest, bestiality, sadomasochism, sexual activity in a violent context, murder, morbid violence, use of drugs or alcohol, homosexuality, voyeurism, revenge, undermining of authority figures, lawlessness, and human rights violations and atrocities. Exposure warning. Exposure to contents for extended periods of time or during formative years in children may cause delusions, hallucinations, decreased cognitive and objective reasoning abilities, and in extreme cases, pathological disorders, hatred, bigotry, and violence, including but not limited to fanaticism, murder, and genocide. Wonderful. You can actually get these online, and they're very well worth sticking on the front of Bibles.
I was going to say that that's actually quite a bit better than what I usually do with hotel Bibles whenever I get them.
Oh, me too. I usually rip out Leviticus. A few pages from Leviticus have been it.
Oh, well, I tend to do several different things. I'll usually rip out choice sections of the Bible, but what I've found myself doing in the past is I will intentionally go down to the shops and buy blue tack or thumbtacks, and I will take as many pages as I can rip out of the Bible and just draw a big pentagram on the wall, with all these pages and just paint it with red, and then because I put it on the pages. No, genuinely, I'll do this. I'll put it on the pages, so all the cleaners have to do is pull the pages off rather than fucking scrub the paint off. Nice guy. And I put this. I'll just stick all these on, and it'll never be huge. But there was one time I did it, and I made a fairly big one. Took up the whole wall behind the bed. And this is the last day I was in the hotel, and I got this a couple A4 pieces of paper and stuck them up over the top and wrote in it in big massive writing, "He will rise," and then just left it.
Oh dear.
I say another. Go onto Amazon and read some of the 1-star reviews of the Bible. It's quite funny.
Oh really?
I've got one here. It says, "Spoiler alert: the main character dies." Horrific stories of genocide, rape, murder, and slavery, not suitable for young children.
No, we let this into school, especially the passages about what is it with the penis as big as horses and it comes like a donkey or whatever. I mean, Jesus, you know. And they're the ones who actually stand outside the schools and say, "We don't want pornography."
Yeah.
But I find it hilarious that shit is often quoted by like the mothers in media who are like, you know, "I saw a perfume ad where the woman was only wearing her underwear. This is terrible, ban everything." Quoting the Bible, no less. And you think to yourself, read a bit more. Just a little bit more.
Here's another. You'll like this review, Pumpkin. Too much fire and brimstone, not enough tits and ass. They definitely need to get Michael Bay if they plan to make this into a
Well, that's probably the one work of fiction that Michael Bay could actually improve.
Yeah, that is priceless. I want to find that person and give him a fistful of cash, a beer, and a high five.
I would as well. I mean, when you promote the book like it is, it's so wonderful. You really do have to, you know, destroy it, pull it down, and like you would a Jeffrey Archer novel.
Oh, is that a musical intermission from you there?
And now the intermission. Please take this time to make use of the restrooms located around the facilities. If you are unable to find a restroom, please contact one of your administrators, and they will direct you to the nearest restroom facility. Thank you.
Is that what they say in your cinemas in Ireland or something?
No, this is just me putting on a stupid voice and saying random shit while drunk. Because that's one of the things I do, and I'm trying to actually kind of get it out there a bit more, is that I do voices. And I do very strange voices, and I have a lot of fun doing it.
Well, because I don't know, you heard us. You can do Father Peter O'Phil, can't you?
How you doing, boys? You just want to come round the vestments to be filled with the Holy Spirit? I need you to get on your knees, open your mouth, close your eyes. I'm about to give you a big surprise.
Okay.
I got kicked out of a church about a month ago for doing that voice.
Oh,
Because they had
wonderful.
They had the, do you know the way they have people come up to do the readings? I grabbed just a random, like a piece of paper out of my pocket. I think it was like a bus timetable, and I walked up to the altar with this. And everyone's looking around. No one seems to question why there's an extra person. I said,
A reading from the book of Leviticus. And God did say, shellfish, it's bad, okay. And if I find out you're eating it, there'll be rows. And it was so.
and I swear it was the priest was fucking vaulting off his chair, tripped over his robes, trying to get to me. The altar boys were pissing themselves laughing. The two other people that had went up with me were shocked, just like in fucking blind shock. And it was just...
You're allowed to go up and read? I mean, what kind of church is this where you go up and read?
It's like basic Catholic church where they would have members of the parish, notable members go up and do readings and, read from fucking the letter from Paul to the
wonderful opportunity for people like you, more people like you, please, to go up and use that as an opportunity to protest.
I did a brilliant one once where I stood up and now this was at a small mass, and it was basically just like family, friends, and a couple random other people that I've never talked to since. And I got up and said, a reading from Paul's second letter to the Corinthians. Dear Corinthians, I've written to you twice now, and still no response. This is getting a bit harsh. Seriously, guys, did the first one go missing, or are you just that lazy? Is it so hard to pick up a pen? At this stage, I was basically dragged away by, I think it was just one of the other guys that had come up to do it. But just have fun when you do this shit. That's the main thing.
I absolutely love this Irish. I love it. I want that opportunity to go in there, contest, be controversial, argue. I get so bored. You go into a church. It's old people just sitting in the pews, obedient, looking up at some man, it usually is a bloke, pointing his finger and talking a load of nonsense. It's so frustrating.
One of the things I want to do, because I'm planning to move away, and one of the last things I want to do is go into my local church, and whenever the priest is moved away, is just run up to the microphone. Let's make some fucking noise!
Yes!
Do we have any Christians in the house? Just see it go really, that confused murmur, and then just go at it with
it's so
gusto
annoying
and see what happens.
It's dying. It's these big churches, huge buildings, public buildings, well, not public buildings, but these churches that are basically dwindling numbers of older people. Yeah. And it's wonderful if they were taken and used. They make great climbing walls, particularly ones with huge steeples, and it's great that we make good use of them. And the last thing I want is the new, young, militant Christians that are taking them over.
Have you been to did you go to any of the free churches when you were in Harris? Did you actually go in there?
I tried. I did go in, but not when there were people there, because I wouldn't have been welcome.
The sermons, they can range from really... It depends on the minutes, because you do get the banging of the pulpit kind of guys, you're all going to hell kind of thing. That can be quite entertaining.
So Ted Haggard, basically.
Yeah, no, worse than that. Angrier.
Oh, cool.
Angrier and more doer and negative, and just they were all so worthless and we're all fucked.
Oh, please, the day I come to visit you, you're taking me to one of those places, and we're just going to have so much fun. Just slam, you're all going to hell. Not before you, fucktard. You're all sinners. Yeah, but at least I didn't do that thing. Yeah, I know. You know what I know that you know. I'm watching you. But, so much fun. And what you're saying about militant Christians, I find them to be great fun. You find them, you talk to them, you realise that they're militant Christians, and then you insult them. It's brilliant. I got into an argument with one because they used to have these, they were trying to promote this debate, but it turned out just to be the regular congregation showing up. But it was they had posters up saying, does science disprove God? And under almost all of them, someone had went round, who I will say wasn't me, although I wish I had have thought of doing this, and went round with a can of spray paint and just sprayed under it, yes. But
Yeah,
I found one of these people who'd, tried hosting this, and he was a really angry guy, and he was like, fucking, nobody showed up to this, and they don't want to have a discussion about how they're wrong. And I was like, oh, I'm going to have fun. And sat down, and I was like, so what's your opinion on evolution? He said, it's the fucking devil's work, and it's evil, and it's wrong, and blah, blah, blah.
Oh my God.
And I said, and what's your evidence for this? And he says, in the Bible. Okay, let's play a game, shall we? Okay, what we're going to do is we're both going to make our arguments, but each of us has to take away one part of it. We can't use one source of the other's choosing. And he said, you can't use Darwin. And I just said, okay. You can't use the Bible. Oh, the Bible's lots of different books, really? I said, okay. How about this? You can't use any of the books in the Bible, and you can pick 50 sources that I can't use. He couldn't name 3. So we went into this, and to be fair, he did go along with it for a while. And we must have sat for quite a while. And just had such fun. I'm echoing on you, Charlie.
Right.
Yeah.
Change anything.
Well, anyway. Oh, no, it's fine now. But I just had a discussion. I was like, and here it's proved through the fossil records and through this and through the research of this person and this person and this person, and we can figure out this. And he kept saying, but the Bible says, and I said, can't use that source. Funniest debate, conversation, whatever you want to call it, I've ever had.
Wonderful.
If you ever get the chance to do it with someone who actually will agree to it, do it.
You can't argue with them though. It's like throwing jelly at the wall.
Yeah, but it's like when
Sometimes that can be fun.
we were speaking to Rob Schaefer, last week, and he was the same, because he deals with UFOs mostly, and he says he knows that he can't convert, your David Icke's and Alec Jones, but he just hopes to get those who are listening in that haven't looked at it in depth. I mean, that's all it is. That's what it's about, mostly. It's just the fence sitters. That's who you're trying to reach.
I'll be honest, I don't even go for those people. I just kind of go for, just sit down and take the piss out of them and have some fun doing it.
It's fun. It's fun. Yeah, you can do that. What you're saying is kind of all right because you're either just going to go to the islands or like Harris or Lewis or something for a holiday. But when you live there, that's more difficult.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with you. But when I go into debates and shows with what the fuck is wrong with this thing? Maybe that fixed it.
No, I don't. Is it echoing again?
Yes.
We're all okay. No, I was going to say there's something that came into my mind there. Have you all seen that God is Dead trailer? Well, I know Marty has.
Yeah.
Sheila, have you seen it?
Mm-hmm.
Gary hasn't seen it yet, has he?
No, I haven't.
You go on YouTube and type in God is Dead trailer, and then watch that and get back to us.
And when you do, try to wear a helmet or some form of padding, because you're going to want to slam your head against a desk.
It's a trailer for an upcoming Christian propaganda film.
Oh no.
Kind of
About how teachers are evil and that
this Christian goes to university to study philosophy, and the evil atheist philosophy professor comes out at the start and says, "Right."
There's also Hercules.
Yeah, and he goes at the start, God is dead, and if you don't accept that, then we've got problems and blah blah blah. And so the brave Christian stands up to him, and it's them debating. That's what the film basically is. Yeah, it looks awful.
I cannot wait to see the debates that they put in, because it's just going to be.
Well, because it's going to be.
Debates can't have anything of merit, so they're going to have to make the teaching so much more.
I know what the debates are going to be, because it's basically. I bet you have you ever got those spam emails about atheist professors? Or even read them?
One or two.
Yeah, I bet you it's going to be some of that and a load of William Lane Craig stuff thrown in as well. In fact, I bet
guys, I'm going to have to take off because I'm starving.
Food shortage in Norway.
I know.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting this show to be this long even. So
It's only
It's
10
okay, just hop into the long ship and go raid some village.
It's only
Yeah.
10 minutes longer than usual.
yeah, but I was expecting it to be maybe an hour long, yeah.
No,
Like that. So
yeah, we arranged a match for an hour and a half, so
Well, it was
Yeah.
nice to talk to you,
Yeah.
Matt.
same to you.
yeah, well, you've spoken before, you two.
Yeah, we
have.
Yeah, indeed.
I didn't have much to say, but
I talk too much actually normally.
Oh, well, you can join in
no
later.
problem.
It's still on.
Yeah. Well, bye.
Alright.
Have fun being Norwegian. Ah, damn it, have. I don't do it out of malice, I just do it out of malice.
Well, I must admit it'd be quite good to go and have a look at that God is Dead thing. So maybe this is my moment to.
Yeah, go and look that trailer up and then come back to us. And,
Yeah. All right then.
it's only-
Okay then. We'll
Yeah.
see you guys for now.
Yeah.
I might actually have to head off soon because I have work at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Alright. I don't know what I'm going to do. Might watch a film now or something. In fact, I was halfway through a film before the show was due to start, so
What were you watching?
for some weird reason I was watching Revenge of the Sith again. Don't ask why I felt the need to watch it.
I'm not a big fan of the first three.
I'm not going to.
Me neither, but I'm weird. I do sometimes get a kick out of watching shit films. I've seen some real turds as well. One of the best bad films I saw, and it was just for one thing in it. It was this film called Death Racers, and it's one of those mockbusters. Have you ever heard of that? Like these really cheap versions of blockbusters. And it was called Death Racers, and it's all these teams that race about. And there was one team which was these ultra hardcore feminist lesbians in it, and the name they gave their team was they were called Vaginamite. I just thought that was so good. Genius. It's you only get that in bad films. Oh, Pumpkin's gone already. That was a bit abrupt to him.
It's the kind of Irish philosophy which has come up with such staples as never take an Egypt with you on a journey. You can always pick one up when you get there. And my personal favourite, that person is the kind of person who would keep a shovel full of shite on the kitchen table to keep the flies off the butter.
Yeah, like I say, I'm just reading the actual YouTube comments here just to say again, sorry, no Matt Dillahunty tonight. He can't make it due to the lack of internet in his area currently. So, yeah. But if you do have any questions, you can use the chat here or you can use the TwL Logic site. It's up to you. We like to give folk options. We do prefer the IRC chat.
It's just really annoying to have to check 2 places.
Well, I think in the future what we can do is we can assign one person to watch our YouTube comments and one person to watch the IRC chat.
Yeah,
I just much prefer the IRC chat.
Yeah, so do I.
The YouTube chat sucks balls.
Yes. Epistemology, that's quite a good name for Irish philosophy.
I actually need to fucking put this other headset on. It doesn't matter if I can only hear through one ear.
Okay. Oh, Sheila was. Hello, Sheila.
Hello.
Hi there. This is going to be probably one of the worst streams
A
ever.
minute.
And Sheila,
I think I've managed to fix my headset.
awesome. Sheila, meet the always charming Angry Pumpkin. You'll bump into him a lot during this show.
You're either gonna really like me or want to shank me in the face.
Fair enough.
Yeah, he's got that Northern.
I last used Google Hangouts.
It's changed since I last used it, which was last week.
Same here. Like, it made more sense last time.
Okay, if you look in the... There used to be a special chat room for just the people in the show.
Yeah, there's a group chat.
Yeah.
Where the fuck is it?
Move your mouse to the left side of the screen and it'll be the top one, the little blue thing with the lines.
Ah, yeah, there we go. So, yeah, sorry everyone. Like I say, well, I hope you enjoy us pissing around and trying to figure this out. There you go, Marty. That's the link to the stream so you can see if anyone does comment. Yeah, sorry. Again, no Matt tonight. He cannot make it. He has no internet connection at the moment. There's been some bad flooding in Austin.
So a good portion of Austin is without internet. So our hearts and minds go out to all those poor men without their porn.
There's going to be a lot of porn-deprived men going around Austin.
There's
No,
going to be many a blue ball,
Yeah.
or many a peeing face sheep.
with the daunting prospect of actually having to go out and go and try and interact with real women. We've got to stop slandering Austin right now.
Why?
It's given us so much, the city of Austin.
Okay, let's see. It has Rooster Teeth. It has Matt Dillahunty.
The atheist experience.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
There's more to the atheist experience than Matt, though.
Well, probably, but to be honest, I haven't actually watched the show beyond some of the few sections where he just goes nuts at people.
Oh, you've got... that's nothing. You've got to watch a good Jeff D rant. Those are incredible.
Oh, yeah.
I think Mark will attest to, like, the...
Such terrible problems I live with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, apparently we are on air now. So hello everyone who's watching this, I don't know. As you can see, there is a distinct lack of Matt Dillahunty with us tonight. I'll just quickly explain. Matt's unable to make it. He doesn't have internet due to some flooding in his local area. So we are going to reschedule for some point in the future. So keep tuned. And Marty, do you have anything to say?
Just that it really sucked because I was looking forward to talking to Matt again.
Yeah.
So did I. I actually got into a fight with one of my managers to get off early.
And now you've just got the two of us to deal with instead.
Well, fuck it. I have porn, and as soon as I'm done masturbating and getting my fight, I'm just gonna go play Black Flag.
Yeah, I can.
Information. Way too much information.
Yeah, we do actually have people in our chat room who are asking what's going on. So just to repeat again, there's no Matt Dillahunty tonight. I am sorry to inform him he cannot make it. I've been in touch with him, so like I said, we're rescheduling. He'll be back on in the new year. We're hoping first show of the new year. That's what we're aiming to get him for. Good way to kick off the new year.
Yeah.
And if I'm stuck in work, I swear to God, I will kill you all.
And in case you don't know, that we have the lovely and always charming and diplomatic Pumpkin with us.
Good day to you, boys.
He's got that lovely Northern Irish charm we all love so much.
Where do I see the chat room here?
I'll have to give you the link. And as well, the reason we're doing this, I think, is just so we can get more familiar with Google Hangouts, as we are moving the shows to Google Hangouts.
Yeah, this has definitely changed since
Those are great.
When it comes to atheist rants, Jeff D is just in a league of his own. Like, if you go back and view shows from, I think it was like in 2005 onwards, like some of the rants he has on that when he blows his top with some folk, they're just epic.
For some reason, that's reminded me of a video I have saved somewhere on my computer of me, one of the few streams I went on where I was sober, and someone really, really pissed me off, and I just fucking lost it. Like a 20-minute rant of how much, basically saying that they're the biggest cunt in the universe. A cunt so large that when they were born, a doctor walked past the room and said, "Oh look, a cunt coming out of a cunt's cunt." I believe one of my choice lines out of that was, "You're such a massive cunt, you make supermassive black holes jealous." You're the kind of cunt that slides down the bar stool when you sit on it.
Oh god, this is wonderful.
Remember, only the highest brow entertainment for you.
Yep.
Yeah, so I guess we're just gonna have to improvise something. I have no idea how many people are watching, so let's...
We've got 8 at the moment watching us.
Oh, okay.
So all 8 people.
It's no disaster then.
Like in the comments, you want to hear a rant or hear us talk about something? I don't know. There's actually not been that much in the news that we can take the piss out of. I mean, there was kind of... Yeah, I'm sorry about that with the Rob Schiefer show. It was... He just didn't have a good mic. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just his... Yeah, let's see.
Where the fuck did I put that there?
Yeah, like I say, Rob Schiefer. Like I say, well, it was a nice. Well, we could hear him well enough to follow. Like I say, just you know, it's always ironic. Someone who's in that kind of field and he had terrible equipment on the day.
Yeah.
For a whole field of study that's renowned for bad equipment use. Discuss my proposed experiment. What the fuck is that?
If your proposed experiment is to simultaneously fist yourself while fapping, no.
My experiment is designed to falsify the idea that macro-realism doesn't exist because quantum realism is indeterminate. It works as follows.
Okay, allow me to address this
where
question.
Are you?
Allow me to address this.
I'm reading the IRC chat, and
Oh, you're in there as well. Okay.
all I can say is Matt, who sent us that. We don't. The one man who could kind of take your question is Lundy, and he's not here. None of us are really that philosophically literate. The three of us, as you can probably tell from the early conversations here.
I would like to say I do become fairly philosophical, but only after roughly a dozen shots of whiskey.
Yeah.
At which point it just kind of becomes, you know, as long as I don't have to use long words, I'm pretty much okay.
It's that kind of famous Irish philosophy, isn't it?